Wow, I had another beautiful experience of the material mind really shining, do its thing, thinking well, and at the same time having the beautiful full spectrum spirit mind experience. The material mind is great at details and patterns of material world things, and spirit mind sees the full picture. What are others feeling? What are the other possibilities? How is my energy influencing the discussion? All this greater picture, not just of the words in the physical world, but also of the energy at hand and the people and possibilities. Really, really cool. So again, this one was around a construction that we're doing on our remodel. And a bill came in, and there was kind of a list of items that were there. And two of them kind of surprised me. I was like, oh, I'm surprised they're going to charge me for that, because there was a situation where we had a clearance issue putting through a duct, and they had showed me before that there was this issue and how it was going to affect the cabinet below it, and then that was going to affect the door, and then that was going to affect the refrigerator, and that was going to affect the cabinet above that, and that was, there's going to be this cascading effect because they couldn't get the clearance they thought they had. And when I'd seen it with them, I happened to be on site when they showed me this. This is maybe a month ago. I thought, wow, I really tried hard to think of any other place to put it, and there just wasn't any other solution. So I said, yeah, okay, just shogunai, which means say la vie, or that, I guess that's just how it is. But next morning, I woke up and my material mind had a solution. It said, maybe instead of using a round duct there, we could use an oval one. And that would make it just about 5 centimeters shorter. Not much, but enough to give us enough breathing room that everything would work. So I sent them an email the next day and suggested that. And they were kind of hesitant, said, it's not going to make much difference. And I said, well, just a little bit will help, right? They said, yeah. So I said, okay, let's do it. So I was kind of surprised when they had done that, it had worked, and they were able to just make everything fit in a really elegant way, where before it was going to look a little bit crowded. We were going to make some compromises, have to rebuild some things. It was going to have some extra cost. So I was surprised when the bill came in that they were charging that to me. So redoing the duct and fixing the cabinet under it, they had charged that as an additional charge for me. But I didn't feel bad. I just was surprised, wrote a little email that was, said, oh, I'm surprised by that. And at the end of the email, I did put a little snark in there. I did also put, oh, maybe you're going to charge me for those other mistakes that I found the other day too? I hope not, something kind of like that. And I knew energetically that something was off, like I shouldn't put it in there, but my finger just kind of fired off the email before I could fix it. And in that moment, my material mind wasn't in the loving space of spirit mind. I was kind of in that space of frustration. I want to be right. I want to sort of poke you in the eye a little bit. This email is going to go to, 3 or 4 people. It's kind of that group thing that we do sometimes where it's like, we're a little mean to sort of embarrass the person in a way that we think, ha, I made you look dumb, so then you're going to concede, to my point or something like that. This is all happening unconsciously, right? We all do this at times, and I'm just admitting it because I'm not judging myself there. And I knew energetically that this didn't need to be there, but I'd already fired off the email. So it was kind of rolling around in my head I just set in motion some energy here. And interestingly, the energy did come back. They're super professional. Japan is amazing in their language and their politeness and everything. And they just said, oh, and of course we wouldn't charge for something that's our mistake. But this other one wasn't really our mistake. We told you sometimes things don't work out, and this didn't work out. You really wanted this oval solution, but we said it's not going to matter. But we said we'd do it anyway if you really, really want us to, and so on, right? And again, I had this sense of being able to receive what they said, understand the energy, and I wrote a few replies. One reply was that I didn't send. One reply was kind of going into details why I thought that I shouldn't have to pay for this and they should, or why I think it was more of a mistake than and just kind of defensive, right? But this time before it was sent, I happened to be chatting with Isami, and I said, oh, there's this little problem that we're having. And just the way that she asked me about it and the way that she responded, And she had no judgment there. She doesn't have this material mind outside of spirit mind because she doesn't really use her material mind in a super strong way like that. Hers is always coming from love, just trying to find the best solution for everybody. That's kind of natural for her. And just being in that energy, I got this idea. I was like, oh, got it. Oh, thank you, Hisami. Even though you didn't say it out loud, the things you said reminded me that there's a different way to approach this. I can just ask a few clarifying questions, kind of try to shine light on it so everybody feels good and we all can get on the same page. And I realized I'm actually okay if I don't get what I want. If I end up paying for those things, I still feel okay if I'm able to communicate that I was surprised and didn't want to. Just being able to say that was my actual need. I just wanted to share, my material mind really wanted to say, I'm surprised. I think maybe you should pay for at least the cabinet part because that still would have needed to be fixed, even if we didn't change the size of the duct. That was already a mistake, an oversight. And but even that, if I had to pay for that myself, I still didn't feel bad. And it was just really nice. It was like, oh, in the midst of this negotiation that's happening over email and slow motion, I'm seeing that energy matters. The energy that I put out there, if I put out an energy of sort of snarkiness, it's probably going to come back. They're going to feel defensive. That's just natural. If I put out an energy of curiosity and kindness, then that's going to come back naturally. I even started the email by saying, hey, either way, this is going to be really good. You guys came up with such a beautiful design after we made the change, and I'm really grateful for that. The project's going really well, and so there was just a lot of gratitude and love and appreciation in there. In addition to let's clarify this point. Let's just kind of get to the solution. Nobody's right or wrong or good or bad. Let's just kind of sort it out, and either way is going to be fine. So it was really nice for me to notice that in that short period of time, I went from sort of snarkiness to that space of just finding a good answer. And it's not about my ego. It's not about my ego fluffing up, wanting to be right, wanting to be correct, and wanting to make somebody else look bad. It's just about all of us enjoying it, being grateful, and returning to a space of balance and shared understanding and gratitude. So I really love that change.